Hi, and welcome to the Anxiety Relief Revolution. I'm Dan Candell, your anxiety relief guy, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about why you are still anxious, even if you've tried everything. Now, I get messages and comments on my social media every single day, every day, with someone saying, I've tried everything. Nothing is going to work for me. Or people have this story in their head that they are broken or they are beyond help. And to those people, I send you love and compassion. And I'm also going to tell you, you are 100% wrong. You are not too broken. You are not beyond help. That is a belief that you got from somewhere. And you probably got it from not trying the right combination of things. And I say this with love and compassion, but if you spent an hour with me and you said, I'm too broken and I am beyond help and nothing will work, then I would put a shock bracelet on you. And every time you go to say, I'm broken and I'm beyond help, I would hit the button. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't really do that. But sometimes we really need to shock it out of our nervous system, because that belief, it has been jolted into our mind and it's been jolted into our nervous system that we are beyond help or we are too broken. And here's what people are really saying when they say, I'm beyond help, nothing has worked, nothing will work for me. Here's what people are really saying. They are really saying, I haven't found the right thing yet, or I haven't found the right combination of things yet to help that will work out. And they're exactly right. The reason why, and it's easy for people to say, and I just had a conversation with a therapist friend of mine about this the other day, and I said, what do you think about when people say like they're too broken or they're beyond help? And my therapist friend said, well, Dan, I think a lot of therapists will actually blame the client and say it's their fault, they have a nasty attitude, and that may partially be true, but that attitude came from somewhere, didn't it? And the therapist said, I would dive really deep into that, and I would say, where did that belief system come from? How did you adopt that belief system? And I've asked people this before. 90% of the people will say, somebody else told me, or I tried so many things, I don't think anything will work. And it's also expectation, because a lot of times what happens is when people try something, they expect it to work instantaneously, or they expect when it does start working that they'll never, ever feel anxious again. And that's not the case. We are anxious beings and creatures, meaning anxiety is built into us, but when it becomes limiting, that's where it becomes a problem. So you might be saying, okay, smart one, if a person hasn't found the right combination of things to do to get relief from their anxiety, then what should they do? And here's my take. Some people think anxiety is purely mental and that they need just a mental solution. That is false. Some people think that anxiety is purely physical and that they need a physical solution. It is a function of the body. That is also false. Some people think that anxiety is from holding trauma in the nervous system, and that's all it is. That is also false. What it is, it's a combination of the three. So, in order to really, truly make strides and move forward, we need a three-prong approach. We need a mental approach, we need a physical approach, and we need a nervous system approach. We need all three of those to work together: mind, body, nervous system. Now, here's the thing, though, that we're going to go even deeper into this, because a lot of people will say, okay, mind, I'm going to go talk to a therapist. Now, keep in mind, I am a big fan of therapy. I love therapy. I have a therapist. I am not a fan of some of the older approaches of therapy. I also don't believe that one model of therapy works for everybody. In fact, as I'm pursuing my master's degree, get ready for this. I just finished my course in my master's called Integrative Counseling, which is all about finding integrative approaches where the belief system is there's not one approach that fits all people, and you shouldn't be stuck to using one approach. You should know several tools and take a multifaceted approach to help clients. And that's what I do. That's why I do mind, body, nervous system. But here's the thing. A lot of people will say, oh, just using the mind is meditating, doing mindfulness, and also analyzing why you are the way you are. And that's not true. That is a conscious perspective. And anxiety is not a conscious problem. Anxiety is a subconscious problem. So we need a subconscious approach or subconscious approaches. Now, there are many subconscious approaches that we can use. There are many subconscious approaches I use with people, and some gateways into the subconscious mind, heightened emotions. So when I'm working with people, I will have people bawling their eyes out in laughter. I'll have people laughing. I'll have people shouting. I'll have people getting really uncomfortable with doing things in a really fun way. And I'm going to evoke as many emotions as I can to override the anxious response and get into the subconscious mind. Another way, another gateway into the subconscious mind is through overload and overwhelm. So one of the things I'll actually do, I'll create a sense of overwhelm and confusion in my clients, so they have this this stupor on their face where they're like, huh? What? And I'll get into their subconscious mind that way. Another way is through stories and metaphors. So I'll tell a lot of stories with my clients. I'll have them evoke certain stories. I'll get them to tell me the narrative that they've been telling themselves. And then I will rewrite that narrative, and I'll help them rewrite that narrative, and I'll reframe the narrative for them. So another gateway into the subconscious mind is also through relaxation. So I do use some relaxation approaches with some people, but not everybody, because I learned really early on when you're working with anxious people, and if you look at a person that's really struggling with anxiety and you say to them, just take a breath and relax, they're going to look at you like you have 18 heads, and they're going to say, if I could have relaxed by now, I would have done it. So I, instead of telling people to relax, I have to first show them how. So I have to show them mental and physical ways to override that anxious response. So we have mind, right? So we talked about mind, which is we have to get into the subconscious mind. We have to open up the gateways of the conscious mind and get through the subconscious mind. That's where we deliver messages. That's where we start rewiring things. And also when I said earlier that people, they say, I'm too broken, or I'm beyond help, or I've tried everything, that is a habituated response. They become used to responding that way, and that is a habit. So we have to break that habit. So there are ways that I actually use different forms of hypnosis to break the habit. Now, when I say hypnosis, I don't mean like I hold a pocket watch up and wave the pocket watch back and forth. I don't talk in a really deep voice like this and say, relax your big toe. I do that sometimes, but not all the time. And I don't really use a lot of relaxation style approaches until later on in the process when a person can do that. But I use many different hypnotic approaches. Repetition is another hypnotic approach. So I'll repeat something over and 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 over again until it gets into a person's subconscious mind. So these are gateways into the subconscious mind. So these are ways that I'm communicating with the subconscious mind. Now we have body, right? So we covered mind, now we have body. Body is very, very interesting because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm going to get a massage, I'm going to do acupuncture, and that's going to help me relax and it's going to help me feel good. Now, how many of you are listening to this where you've gotten a massage or you've gotten acupuncture and you had a panic attack while you were getting a massage, or you felt anxious while you were getting acupuncture? You started like the cold sweats and everything like that. Or you leave the massage therapist's office, you leave the acupuncturist's office, and you think to yourself, oh, that felt good, but I still feel anxious. Like I still have those ruminating thoughts in my mind. The reason why is because relaxation of the body, it doesn't mean that we are getting those things out of the body. It doesn't mean that we are detoxing the body of anxiety. It doesn't mean we're healing the body. So we actually have to use different somatic responses that actually help you feel a baseline of calm instead of a baseline of anxiety and angst where your shoulders are up to your ears and you're clenching all the time and you're tense and you have TMJ and your butt cheeks are clenched together all the time. We gotta let it loose, right? We just gotta let it loose. So there are somatic ways, which, by the way, when I say somatic ways, they do not involve the butt cheeks. I don't know why I just threw that one in there, but we clench a lot. So it's just releasing some of that tension, and there are ways that there are physical approaches that we can use to release some of that tension. And then there's nervous system. Nervous system regulation is very important, and this is what a lot of people don't take into consideration. We have to stimulate the vagus nerve and activate the parasympathetic nervous system in order to really reduce that anxiety. Now, I know you're going to look at me and you're going to say, you're going to tell us to breathe, aren't you? He's going to tell us to breathe, and that's going to stimulate the vagus nerve, which is responsible for emotional regulation. And that's going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the neurotransmitters like dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, da-da-da. No, I'm not going to tell you just breathe, because as I said, this is a multifaceted approach where, yeah, breathing is a part of it, because if you stop breathing, you do this thing that we call die, and we don't want to do that. So you're always breathing, but it's also doing each one of these approaches with intention and having an intention. And that's the biggest reason also as to why people won't notice results, is because they don't go into these processes with an intention. And one of the things I do with my clients and people in my program, I get very, very crystal clear. Well, I help them get crystal clear on what they want to do. And I'll say things to them like, how will you know once you go into this situation and you're no longer anxious? How will you know? And some people say, I'll just know. Or I will feel better. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Because we have to activate the reticular activating system, which is responsible for awareness. You have to know how you'll know. And some people say, I don't know. And I'll say, well, I don't know cannot be an answer here. We do not accept I don't know as an answer. So if you did know, what would it be? And this is where people say, well, I'd feel more confident. Okay, what does confidence look like for you? So we get really, really deep. And I was working with a person a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking this person all these questions, and they just kept saying, I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't really know. And it's not that they didn't know, it's that they didn't want to answer the questions because they wanted to stay stuck inside of that problem because that's where they were comfortable. So with that said, my friends, you now know a 3-tiered approach in order to reduce your anxiety quickly. Mind, body, nervous system. Now here's the thing. For many people, when they use these approaches, many of these people will feel so in control of their own feelings, sensations, and emotions. Many people will feel like they are masters of their psychology and their physiology and their responses, where they become more responsive and less reactive. And people, as a result of this, feel less frustrated, they feel less angry, they feel less agitated, they feel more comfortable in their own skin, they feel more confident, they're taking chances. Yet we have to be open to celebrating those wins and recognizing them. And I'm going to get into that in a future episode. So my friends, thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in joining one of my programs, you can go to dancandell.com. Again, dancandell.com. And make sure you follow me on Instagram at dancandell if you haven't already. Make sure you rate and subscribe. We always love 5-star reviews. It helps me help more people. And also, follow me on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't hit the follow button yet. What are you waiting for? And also follow me over on TikTok, where I have over 253,000 people that follow me on TikTok. I do post videos every week. With that said, my friends, as always, be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing. Thank you for joining me and being a part of the Anxiety Relief Revolution. If you haven't already, make sure you rate, subscribe, and give a 5-star review. It really helps me help you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on another episode.